Hey guys, welcome to Gizmo Times. So this is Chetan and this is the quick comparison of the Realme X versus the OPPO K3. In our unboxing video of the OPPO K3, most of you asked about what's the need of this phone when this almost the same device from Realme. So there are quite a few differences which you might have not noticed in the unboxing or even when the phone was actually launched. So here's the quick comparison where we'll be letting you know which one has those better features than the other ones and what are the final thoughts about which should be the phone to choose over the other. So let's start with the design itself. Both of them have the plastic back. It's not a glass back, but frankly I would easily give the vote to the OPPO K3 over the Realme X because Realme X has not a bad design. I'll show you the design perfectly here. It's not a bad phone at all when we talk about the design because it's having that glossy back with that gradient design which has blue towards the bottom and darker shades towards the top. But take a look at this clearly, and now moving on to the OPPO K3, you'll easily like the OPPO K3 because it also has the gradient design with that S curve as well, which easily shows up here. But the camera arrangement and everything is similar to how it was on the OPPO Reno series. The Reno is the flagship range from OPPO, and having almost the same things here, it makes it quite a perfect phone when we talk about the premium look and feel of the device. So this actually seems much better when compared to the Realme X when you talk about the design. Also, if you see the back of this phone, it's almost regressed. The cameras don't pop out much. It's only a thin border that comes out. Otherwise, the lenses are quite regressed inside the frame, and that is why this phone is actually thicker than the Realme X by quite some amount. It's 9.4 mm thickness on the OPPO K3 when compared to the 8.6 mm thickness on the Realme X. So it's thicker, though it has the same amount of battery, but that also has led to the camera being regressed and flushed into the body, which is actually a good thing for the OPPO K3 and which is something I actually liked on this device over the Realme X. Now moving on to the display. Display is almost the same, so I won't talk a lot about the display because if you're talking about the differences, there's no difference here. So it's almost the same here. Both of them offer the 6.5-inch display, the full HD plus resolution, and the Gorilla Glass 5 protection, the same pixel density as well. So no difference, and both are the AMOLED displays. So again, with the color output, you won't see much of a difference. So there's no difference that way. Next, with the benchmarks or even the processor that is powering these phones, there's no difference there as well. So let's show you the scores here, and both of them have the Qualcomm Snapdragon 710. So you know that when we talk about the benchmarks in these phones, it won't differ much because of the same chipset here. It's 1,53,000 and 1,55,000, so no difference really. It's almost the same score on Antutu, and even on Geekbench, it's almost the same. Snapdragon 710, but one difference here is with the variants that are given. So that's where I would start the major comparison of what should be your choice here. It's 4 GB on the base variant of the Realme X, which is something some of you might not now want to prefer. If you are someone who does a lot of multitasking, doesn't want the RAM management to be poor, and in case the RAM management is poor and you still want the phone to handle things well, more RAM should be always helpful. And that's the case with the OPPO K3, which has the base variant with 6 GB RAM. So there's 6 plus 64 option for the same price where you're getting 4 plus 128 option on the Realme X. So 16,990 or 17,000 is what the rough figure would be. 17,000 for 4 plus 128 and 17,000 for 6 plus 64. So you're getting a choice of either more RAM and lesser storage or less RAM and more storage. So depends on your choice, but I would frankly say that I'll go with the more RAM. Though one disadvantage here is that both the phones don't have a micro SD card slot. So if you are getting a lesser storage variant, in future you might have that problem of cleaning the storage because you don't have any option to expand the storage here. So while Realme has lesser amount of RAM, the Realme X still has 128 GB storage as the base variant, and the next variant has the same amount of storage, 128 GB storage for the base variant, and for the next variant as well, that's 20,000 rupees, you're getting 8 GB RAM and 128 GB storage, which is for 20,000 rupees. And again, for 20,000 rupees, you're getting 8 GB RAM and 128 GB storage, which is exactly the same on both the phones. So 20,000 rupees, no difference, 8 plus 128 on both of them. But if you are trying to spend lesser, 17,000 rupees, you'll have to either give up with the storage or give up with the RAM. So that depends on your choice totally, because the processor being the same, the performance won't change, and both of them have the same color OS based on Android 9 Pie. So it's color OS 6.0, And the RAM is where I would say that the OPPO K3 is taking the lead. But with the storage again, since there's no dedicated option for the microSD card slot, some of you might want to prefer the Realme X over this one. But I would say that if you're actually spending 17,000, why not spend 3,000 more and go with the OPPO K3's 128 GB storage option with the 8 GB RAM, because that's going to be future proofing for you. You're getting higher amount of RAM as well, and the same amount of storage that the Realme X has. So again, that totally depends on your choice. But the next area where I would say that you might want to go with the Realme X is with the cameras. While you see that the camera placement and how it looks is better on the OPPO K3, but the camera, the actual camera that is included here, the sensor here is better on the Realme X. You have a 48 megapixel Sony IMX586 sensor that is present on the Realme X, while on the other side you have the 17 megapixel f1.7 camera on the OPPO K3, which is not the Sony's IMX586 obviously. So you won't be getting better shots, but I'd say in a way you're not getting 48 megapixel shots on this one. Unlike how it's on the Xiaomi's phones, the Xiaomi's Redmi K20 or the K20 Pro, as well as the Xiaomi's Redmi Note 7 Pro, they had the option of 48 megapixel, but here it's all pixel binning. So you're getting 12 megapixel captures from the 48 MP sensor. Obviously they are going to be very good captures, but you're not getting the 48 MP captures that you might want to use in the future with the larger resolution, that's 8000 into 6000 pixels, that you're not getting on the Realme X as well. So this is the 16 megapixel f1.7, while on the other side it's 48 MP f1.7, but otherwise it's going to give you 12 megapixel captures. The secondary cameras here are a 2 megapixel depth sensor on the OPPO K3, 5 megapixel depth sensor on the Realme X. So with the portraits, obviously both seem to be almost the same for me. We have taken some captures and I'm going to do a separate camera comparison, because in these two phones it's going to be that cameras which is going to be a major difference. So that test is going to be separately done and we'll show you which one has better camera captures, because we might feel that the IMX586 is totally much better than this 16 megapixel one, but that's not the case always. So we are going to do that separate comparison and let you know which one has the real good camera setup there. And with the front cameras, you don't see a front camera on both of them because they are the full view displays or panoramic display, what the company called. And that is because of the fact that they both have the pop-up selfie camera or the motorized camera on the top, and both have exactly the same camera. That's the 16 megapixel f2.0 cameras for the selfies. But while the Realme X has a 25 mm wide lens for the selfies, this one has a 26 mm wide lens. So a little bit wider, not a huge difference, a very small difference, but that was worth a mention. 25 mm versus 26 mm, though both have the same aperture size and both have the same resolution, that's 16 MP. With the battery, they have the same battery, that's 3765 mAh, so no difference again, and and the VOOC 3.0 charge as well is going to be the same, so 20-watt charging with the same chipset and optimization done. You would see the battery life to be almost the same, even the charging is going to be the same, so no difference there as well. And before we end, even with the connectivity, I would say that we haven't seen any difference. Both have Bluetooth 5.0, both have dual band Wi-Fi, dual 4G with VoLTE, and no expandable microSD card slot. And both the phones have the Type-C port towards the bottom, the speaker grill, the placement of all the ports is the same. These phones seem quite similar in a way, but the major differences were with the cameras and also with the variants that they come with. That's 4 plus 128, 8 plus 128, 6 plus 64, and 8 plus 128. So that choice should be dependent on you, on your needs for the future, which one you should go with. And that was the major comparison here. With the cameras, specs wise, I would say this felt better. But yeah, again, before we end, 48 megapixel camera, that IMX586 is capable of 4K videos at 60 fps. But due to Snapdragon 710, there are limitations. So you get 4K at 30 fps on this one, 4K at 30 fps even on this one. So there's no difference with the 4K video recording. You don't get 60 fps recording even with the Realme X. So that was it, a quick comparison of the Realme X and the OPPO K3, which most of you wanted us to show and let you know which one, what are the major differences. So that's it here. I hope you like this video and stay tuned for the camera comparison of these two phones, and subscribe to Gizmo for more. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.